The diplomatic vessel moved slowly through space toward the Vrex homeworld. Inside, Hana checked her uniform for the third time that morning. Her hands shook slightly, though she tried to hide it. Today would be humanity's first face-to-face meeting with one of the galaxy's most dangerous predator species. Jiho stood beside her near the airlock, his security badge gleaming under the bright lights. He looked calm, but Hana knew him well enough to see the tension in his shoulders. They had both read the briefing materials dozens of times. The Vrex were not to be taken lightly. The other species in the galaxy feared the Vrex with good reason. They stood over 7 feet tall, with muscles that could tear through metal doors. Their claws could extend from their fingers in an instant, sharp enough to cut through armor. Their eyes saw in spectrums that humans could not even imagine. And they had conquered 17 star systems before anyone convinced them to join the peaceful Federation. The briefing had been clear. Do not show your teeth. Do not make direct eye contact for more than 2 seconds. Do not make sudden movements. And most importantly, stay far away from any Vrex young. Every species in the galaxy knew that predators protected their children with deadly force. The door opened with a soft hiss. Ambassador Talmor stepped through, and Hana felt her breath catch. The Vrex was even larger than she had imagined, his fur a deep gray color that seemed to shift in the light. His eyes, compound and multifaceted, fixed on the human delegation. Behind him came 3 more Vrex adults, their presence filling the corridor with an almost physical weight. The human ambassador stepped forward, speaking carefully rehearsed words of greeting. Talmor responded in kind, his translator rendering his deep rumbling voice into perfect Korean. Everything was going according to protocol. Hana began to relax slightly, then she heard a different sound. A small chirping noise, curious and bright. A young Vrex, barely 3 feet tall, squeezed between the legs of the adults. The cub's fur was lighter than the adult's, soft and fluffy. Its eyes were wide with curiosity as it looked at the strange creatures before it. The human ambassador froze mid-sentence. The Vrex adults went very still. Jiho's hand moved toward his weapon, though Hana knew it would be useless if things went wrong. The entire corridor seemed to hold its breath. The cub, unburdened by adult fears and protocols, padded forward on large paws. It approached Hana directly, perhaps drawn by her stillness or her scent. The creature circled her once, sniffing, its small tail swishing back and forth. Then it looked up at her and made a sound. A miniature version of an adult Vrex's battle roar. It was a snarl, but playful, accompanied by a little hop and a crouch. Hana's mind went blank. Years of training evaporated. She was no longer a xenobiologist on a diplomatic mission. She was simply someone facing a playful young predator, and her body responded before her brain could stop it. She dropped to one knee, getting closer to the cub's level. From deep in her chest she produced a growl, low and rumbling. It was not aggressive. It was the same sound she had made 1,000 times with dogs back on Earth, the universal language of play between predators. The cub's ears flattened against its head, but not in fear. In delight. Its whole body wiggled with excitement. And then, to everyone's absolute shock, the young Vrex rolled onto its back, exposing its soft belly to the human. Its paws curled in the air, and it made a happy chirping sound. The silence that followed was deafening. Hana slowly became aware of what she had done. She looked up to see Jiho's face, white with shock. The human ambassador had stopped breathing. The Vrex adults stood frozen, their expressions unreadable to human eyes. Ambassador Talmor took a step forward. His large body moved with controlled precision. Hana prepared herself for the worst. She had broken protocol. She had approached a Vrex cub. She had probably started an interstellar incident, but Talmor did not attack. He stared at his offspring, who was still on its back, still making happy sounds at the human. He looked at Hana, his compound eyes studying her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. When he finally spoke, his voice was very quiet and his translator struggled with the tone. "How did you do that?" Hana blinked. "Sir? My son Krev has never shown belly to anyone outside our immediate family. No non-Vrex has ever elicited this response from any of our young. It should not be possible." Talmor moved closer and Hana forced herself not to flinch. "What are you?" "I'm just a xenobiologist," Hana said softly. "I study how different species behave and communicate." "That is not what I asked." Talmor knelt down beside his son, who immediately rolled over and pounced on his father's arm, playing. "I asked what you are. Your species was described to us as prey, weak, small, survivors of a dangerous world but not dangerous yourselves. He looked at Hana again. That information appears to be incorrect. The human ambassador found his voice. Ambassador Talmor, I apologize for any breach of protocol. Dr. Hana acted without thinking. She acted on instinct, Talmor interrupted. Instinct does not lie. Instinct reveals truth. He stood lifting Krev easily in one large hand. The cub squirmed, trying to look back at Hana. I wish to understand this. I wish to understand how a species we were told was prey can make a Vrex predator cub submit and play. Jiho stepped forward slightly. Sir, what exactly are you proposing? We will delay the trade negotiations, Talmor said firmly. First, we must answer a more important question. If humans can do this with our young, then everything we have been told about your species is wrong. The Vrex Science Council will want to investigate. They will want your Dr. Hana to come to our homeworld. Hana's heart pounded. An invitation to the Vrex homeworld was unprecedented. No prey species had ever been invited there. It was considered too dangerous, the risk too great. But as she looked at little Krev, still wiggling in his father's grip, still trying to see her, she felt something else. Curiosity, wonder, the same feeling that had driven her to become a xenobiologist in the first place. I'll go, she said quietly. The human ambassador started to protest, but Hana raised her hand. This is why I'm here, to build bridges, to learn. If the Vrex want to understand how I connected with Krev, then I want to understand it too. Talmor's expression might have been a smile, though it was hard to tell. You are either very brave or very foolish. Probably both, Jiho muttered. But he was already calculating security protocols in his head. As the Vrex delegation prepared to depart, Krev managed to twist his head around one more time. He made that playful snarl again, softer this time, almost questioning. Without thinking, Hana growled back, gentle and reassuring. The cub's ears flattened in happiness. Ambassador Talmor paused at the door. You do that very naturally, he observed, as if you have done it many times before. On Earth we have other predators, Hana explained. We learned to live with them. Some of them became our companions. Impossible. Predators do not become companions. On Earth they do. We call them dogs and cats, and a dozen other species that chose to live with us. Talmor was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice carried a note that the translator rendered as something like awe. Then perhaps we have much more to learn about humans than we thought. The galaxy may have made a dangerous mistake in categorizing your kind. The door closed behind the Vrex delegation, and Hana finally let out the breath she had been holding. Her hands were shaking again, but this time from adrenaline rather than fear. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Jiho said quietly. You just made a baby murder machine roll over for belly rubs. It was instinct, Hana said, echoing Talmor's words. I saw a playful youngster and I responded the way I would to any playful youngster back home. But they're not from home. They're apex predators that could tear you apart. Hana smiled slightly. So were wolves once upon a time. And we made them into dogs. The human ambassador approached them, his face still pale. Dr. Hana, do you understand what you've just done? You've changed the entire trajectory of first contact. The Vrex will be analyzing this for years. I know, Hana said. But I think it needed to happen. Maybe it's time the galaxy learned that humans aren't what they think we are. And what are we? Jiho asked. Hana thought about her home, about the dogs that greeted her when she came home, about the cats that had chosen to live with humans thousands of years ago, about every animal that humanity had befriended against all logic and instinct. She thought about her growl, instinctive and natural, and how it had spoken a language older than words. We're predators who learn to make other predators into family, she said finally, and maybe that's exactly what the galaxy needs right now. The Vrex homeworld was nothing like Hana had imagined. She had expected something harsh and cold, a planet that bred warriors. Instead, as the shuttle descended through purple-tinted clouds, she saw vast forests and crystalline lakes. Cities rose between the trees, their architecture flowing naturally with the landscape rather than dominating it. Minho sat beside her, his tablet displaying streams of data. He had arrived on the second transport with more equipment and files from Earth. His job was to provide context, to help the Vrex understand what humans really were. Hana suspected his job was about to get very complicated. They're calling you the Cub Whisperer on the Galactic networks, Minho said with a slight smile. Some species think it's propaganda. Others are demanding an investigation into human manipulation techniques. I didn't manipulate anything, Hana said tiredly. She had repeated this statement at least 50 times in the past week. I just responded to a playful gesture with a playful gesture. I know that. You know that. But the galaxy is having trouble with the concept. Minho pulled up another file. The Vrex Science Council requested everything we have on human evolution. They want to understand how we developed. I've been summarizing millions of years into something comprehensible. The shuttle touched down on a platform surrounded by tall structures that might have been buildings or might have been trees. Hana could not quite tell where nature ended and construction began. A delegation of Vrex waited for them, Talmor at their head. Beside him stood a female Vrex who Hana assumed was a scientist based on the instruments hanging from her harness. Dr. Hana, Dr. Minho, welcome to our home. Talmor greeted them formally. This is Sola, head of our Behavioral Sciences Institute. She will be leading the investigation into your interaction with my son. Sola stepped forward, her movements more careful than Talmor's, more measured. Dr. Hana, we have prepared a facility where you can interact with several of our young under controlled conditions. We must understand if what happened with Krev was unique or if you can replicate the response. Where is Krev? Hana asked. Safe with his mother, Talmor said, and something in his tone suggested that keeping Krev away from Hana had not been easy. He has been asking for you constantly. This is also unusual behavior. They were led through winding paths to a large dome structure. Inside, the environment had been carefully constructed to resemble a natural Vrex habitat. There were climbing structures, hiding places, and wide open spaces. And there were cubs, at least a dozen of them, ranging from very small to nearly adolescent size. The cubs noticed the visitors immediately. The smallest ones hid behind their adult supervisors. The larger ones watched with cautious curiosity. None approached. Sola gestured to a bench. Please sit. Do not approach them. Let them come to you if they choose. We have never brought any non-Vrex into a cub environment before. We do not know what will happen. Hana sat down, making herself comfortable. Minho stood slightly behind her with Jiho, who had insisted on coming despite this being a scientific observation. The Vrex adults positioned themselves around the dome's perimeter, watching intently. For several minutes, nothing happened. The cubs played among themselves, occasionally glancing at the strange visitors but keeping their distance. Hana simply watched, not moving, barely breathing. She had done this before with wild animals on Earth, the art of being present without being threatening. The first cub to approach was medium-sized, its fur a rich brown color. It crept forward slowly, belly low to the ground, ready to flee at any sign of danger. When it got within a few feet of Hana, it stopped and made a soft questioning sound. Hana did not move her body, but she made a sound back. A low rumble, friendly and warm. The cub's ears perked up. It came a little closer, sniffing the air. Then it did something that made Sola gasp audibly. The cub touched Hana's knee with one small paw, gentle and exploratory. Hana very slowly extended her hand, palm down, fingers relaxed. The cub sniffed her hand thoroughly, then rubbed its head against her palm. Within moments, 2 more cubs had approached, emboldened by their siblings' bravery. Then another, then 3 more. Soon Hana was surrounded by young Vrex, all touching her, sniffing her, making soft sounds of contentment. One particularly bold cub climbed into her lap. Another started playing with her hair, fascinated by its strange texture. A third rolled onto its back at her feet, displaying its belly trustingly. The adult Vrex watching were absolutely silent. Sola's instruments hung forgotten in her hands. Even Talmor, who had witnessed this once before, seemed stunned to see it happening again with multiple cubs. Minho took the opportunity to speak quietly to Sola. May I explain something about human evolution? Sola nodded, unable to take her eyes off the scene before her. Humans come from a world we call Earth, Minho began. The galaxy has classified it as a Class 12 death world. Do you know what that means? It means the planet should have killed your species, Sola replied. High gravity, extreme weather, deadly fauna, toxic flora. Worlds like that typically produce prey species that are very good at hiding or predator species that are very good at killing. Earth produced both, Minho said, and humans had to compete with all of them. We were not the strongest. We were not the fastest. We did not have claws or natural armor. What we had was endurance and social bonding. He pulled up a hologram from his tablet showing an ancient human hunting. We practiced something called persistence hunting. We did not chase prey until we caught it. We chased it until it collapsed from exhaustion. We could run for days without stopping. We could track wounded animals across vast distances. We never gave up. Talmor moved closer to see the hologram. This is a predator behavior. Pure predation. Yes, Minho agreed. But here is where humans became unique. We did not just hunt. We formed packs. Large social groups with complex hierarchies based on respect and cooperation, rather than just dominance. And then we did something no other predator species has ever done. We extended our pack to include other predators. He showed another image, this one of a wolf, then another image of a dog. This is the same species separated by thousands of years of living with humans. We took wolf cubs. We fed them. We raised them. Over generations, they became companions. We call them dogs now. They hunt with us. They guard our homes. They play with our children. They are family. Sola's head turned sharply. That is not possible. Predators do not form alliances across species. On Earth they do, Minho said. He showed more images. Cats living in human homes, horses carrying humans across great distances, falcons hunting with human partners. We have domesticated dozens of species. We have learned to speak their body language, to understand their needs, to form bonds that benefit both sides. Dr. Hana did not domesticate Krev, Talmor pointed out. She met him once. No, but she instinctively treated him like she would treat any young predator from Earth. She recognized his play behavior and responded appropriately. That growl she made, we use it with dogs. It means I acknowledge your play invitation and accept. The fact that it worked with Krev suggests our species have more in common than anyone realized. While they talked, Hana had become completely covered in cubs. They climbed on her shoulders, nuzzled her hands, and made happy sounds. One had fallen asleep in her lap. Another was trying to groom her hair with its rough tongue. She sat very still, letting them explore her, occasionally making soft sounds of reassurance. How does she know what to do? Sola asked quietly. Instinct, Minho replied. Millions of years of learning to live with other predators. It is built into us now. When we see a young creature, we assess threat level. These cubs register as playful, curious, not dangerous. So she responds with gentle dominance. She is calm. She is confident. She is not afraid. To the cubs, this makes her feel safe, like a pack leader. But she is not Vrex. She cannot truly be part of their pack. Minho smiled slightly. Humans do not see pack membership as species-dependent. We see it as relationship-dependent. If we bond with you, you are pack. It does not matter what you look like or where you come from. A new cub approached, larger than the others, almost adolescent. This one moved with more caution, more adult awareness. It approached Hana slowly, studying her carefully. When it got close, it made a sound that was almost a challenge, a small snarl. Everyone tensed. This was a test. The cub was old enough to understand danger, old enough to question whether this strange creature should be trusted. Hana looked directly at the cub and growled back. But this growl was different, deeper, firmer. Not a play sound, but an authority sound. The kind of sound that said, I am not a threat, but I am also not someone you can challenge. The adolescent cub's ears flattened. It held Hana's gaze for a long moment, then slowly, deliberately lowered its head in a gesture of respect. It approached the rest of the way and gently touched its forehead to Hana's shoulder. Submission, acceptance. Talmor made a sound that might have been a laugh or a gasp. That cub is my nephew. He is training to be a warrior. He has never shown submission to anyone outside his direct combat instructors. She just established herself as dominant without aggression, Sola said, her voice full of wonder. She matched his challenge with confidence, not violence. And he accepted her authority. The orbital station hung between worlds, a neutral space where species could meet without territorial concerns. 6 months had passed since Hana's first visit to the Vrex homeworld, and the galaxy was still processing what it meant. Now came the next test, one that would prove whether humans could truly bridge the gap between species. Doyen stood in the station's main training hall, reviewing the roster of participants. As a xenopsychologist specializing in pack dynamics, he had helped design this program. Joint Human-Vrex Military Exchange, they called it, though it was really about something much deeper. Could warriors from both species learn to work together? Could they form the kind of bonds that would hold under real pressure? Youngji arrived next, her combat instructor credentials giving her access to areas others could not enter. She had been Special Forces back on Earth, trained in dozens of fighting styles. Now she faced a different kind of challenge. Teaching predators that there was more to combat than raw power. They're not going to like you, Doyen warned her as they prepared the training space. The Vrex who volunteered for this program are warriors. Proud, strong. They've heard about the Cub incidents, but they think that's different. They think adult Vrex are beyond human influence. Good, Youngji said calmly. Let them think that. Makes the lesson more effective. The first Vrex to arrive was Takren, a young warrior with dark fur marked by scars from previous battles. He moved with absolute confidence, his muscles rippling under his pelt. Behind him came Mira, slightly smaller but no less imposing. Her eyes assessed everything in the room, calculating threats and advantages. So you are the humans who will teach us about combat, Takren said, and his tone made it clear what he thought of that idea. I mean, no disrespect, but you are small, slow, without natural weapons. What can you teach warriors like us? Maybe nothing, Youngji admitted easily. Or maybe everything. Want to find out? Takren's ears perked forward with interest. This human did not seem intimidated. That was unusual. Most prey species cowered in the presence of Vrex warriors. Even other predator species showed wariness. I propose a simple test, Youngji continued. There is a target hidden somewhere in this station's training sector. Multiple environments, varied terrain. You hunt it using your methods. Then I hunt it using mine. We see what happens. And what do we learn from this? That depends on what you see. Takren agreed immediately. He loved challenges, and he was certain he would complete this task quickly. Youngji activated the simulation, and a holographic map appeared showing the training sector layout. Dense urban areas, open spaces, vertical climbing sections, dark tunnels. A complete hunting ground. The target appeared on the map, a small moving dot. Takren studied it for only a moment before moving. He was fast, incredibly fast, his powerful legs carrying him through the corridors at speeds that would have broken a human's bones. He used his enhanced senses to track the target, his claws to climb walls and leap between platforms. Doyen and Youngji watched through monitoring screens. Takren moved with the grace of a perfect predator. Ambush tactics honed over generations. He cornered the target in an urban section, using rooftops for advantage, then dropped down with precision strike. Simulation complete. Time 14 minutes. Takren returned looking satisfied. A good hunt. Quick and efficient. The target never had a chance to escape once I found it. Very impressive, Youngji said genuinely. Now my turn. She reset the simulation with a new target, same general parameters. Then she began to move. Where Takren had been explosive power and speed, Youngji was something else entirely. Steady, relentless. She did not sprint. She jogged. She did not leap, she climbed methodically. When the target moved, she adjusted her path but never stopped moving forward. Takren watched with growing confusion. She is too slow. The target is getting away. Watch, Doyen said quietly. Youngji tracked the target through 3 different environment types. When it hid, she waited. When it ran, she followed. She did not tire. She did not stop. 20 minutes passed. 30. The target tried every trick, every hiding place. But Youngji kept coming, patient and inevitable. At 42 minutes, the target made a mistake. It was exhausted from running, from hiding, from the constant pressure of being pursued. It chose a dead end trying to hide, and Youngji was there, calm and fresh, to claim it. Simulation complete. Time 42 minutes. Takren stared at the screens. That is not hunting. That is, I do not have a word for it. We call it persistence hunting, Youngji explained, barely breathing hard despite the long pursuit. On Earth, humans hunted animals much faster than us by simply never stopping. We chased them until they collapsed. We did not need to be faster. We just needed to be tireless, but that took 3 times as long as my method. In a simulation, yes, but consider this. What if the target had been further away? What if you had to chase it for hours? Your method is perfect for ambush, for quick strikes. But what happens when the prey sees you coming? When it runs for a long time? You would need to rest. I do not, Mira spoke for the first time. This is unsettling. Prey animals sprint away and hide. Predators chase quickly, then give up if the prey escapes. But you do neither. You just keep coming, no matter what. That is what makes humans dangerous, Doyen added. We combine predator instincts with incredible endurance. On Earth, our prey feared us not because we were strong, but because we were inevitable. Nothing could run from us forever. Takren sat down heavily, his tail twitching with agitation. The galaxy has this wrong, all of it. You are not prey pretending to be predators. You are predators who hunt in a way we do not understand. Not quite, Youngji corrected gently. We are social predators. We do not hunt alone. We hunt in packs using coordination and communication. Want to see? The next exercise involved team hunting. Youngji called in 3 more human participants, all combat trained. The Vrex delegation grew to include 4 warriors. They were given a complex scenario. A target that would require multiple hunters working together to corner. The Vrex warriors attacked the problem like Vrex warriors do. Powerful, aggressive, each one taking a section of the terrain to cover. They communicated minimally, relying on individual skill and instinct. The human team worked differently. Youngji assigned roles immediately. 1 person to flush the target from hiding, 2 to cut off escape routes, 1 to observe and adapt the plan as needed. They talked constantly, updating each other, adjusting strategies on the fly. When the target moved, the humans moved like water, flowing around obstacles, reforming their formation, always coordinated. The Vrex were faster individually, but the humans were faster as a group. Do it again, Takren demanded when the simulation ended. But this time we worked together. Vrex and human. This time Youngji positioned Takren and Mira as the ambush team. Using their natural speed and power, the humans took tracking and coordination roles, guiding the Vrex into position, cutting off escape routes, creating a trap. The target never had a chance. Caught in a net of coordinated hunters, it was cornered in half the time of either team alone. Takren sat again, but this time his posture was different. Not agitated, thoughtful. We are stronger together. Different strengths covering different weaknesses. That is the idea, Doyen said. Humans survived on Earth by forming packs. Not just with other humans, but with any species willing to work with us. We turned wolves into hunting partners. We made horses into transportation. We created alliances because alone we were too weak. Together we became the dominant species on our planet. Mira approached Youngji directly. Teach us, not just combat techniques. Teach us how humans think about pack structure, how you coordinate so naturally, how you make different species work together. Over the following weeks, that is exactly what happened. The training program evolved beyond combat into something deeper. Youngji taught the Vrex warriors about human small unit tactics, about communication and coordination, but she also taught them something more subtle, how to read body language across species lines, how to offer respect without submission, how to build trust through shared experience. The Vrex, in turn, taught the humans about enhanced sensory perception, about using natural weapons effectively, about the pure joy of the hunt that required no justification or explanation. One evening, Doyen found Takren and Youngji sitting together in the observation lounge, looking out at the stars. The Vrex warrior was grooming his claws, a maintenance task. Youngji was cleaning her equipment beside him. They were not talking, just existing comfortably in each other's space. Can I ask you something? Takren said eventually. Of course. When you first met me, were you afraid? Youngji considered this carefully. No, cautious, yes. Respectful of your abilities, absolutely. But not afraid. Why not? I could kill you easily in direct combat. Maybe, Youngji agreed. But that is not how humans think about threats. We assess intent, not just capability. You never showed intent to harm me. You showed intent to test me, to challenge me, to learn. That is not threatening. That is just pack dynamics. Takren was quiet for a moment. I have been thinking about what you said. About humans making predators into family. I thought it was propaganda. Something to make your species seem impressive. But now I understand. You are not trying to make us into something else. The Galactic Council chamber was designed to accommodate hundreds of species. Some breathed oxygen, some methane. Some existed in states that defied easy description. Balconies rose in tiers, each one modified for different environmental needs. At the center, where all could see, stood the speaking platform. Today, Ambassador Hyun stood on that platform, facing questions that would determine humanity's place in the galaxy. The human-Rex bonding phenomenon had spread far beyond simple scientific curiosity. It had become political. And like all political matters, it had divided the Council into factions. Rinthar led the prey species coalition. He was Kalarian, a species that resembled Earth's rabbits if rabbits had evolved intelligence and survived on a world full of things that wanted to eat them. His people had spent millions of years perfecting the art of not being noticed, of being useful enough to protect but never threatening enough to eliminate. Ambassador Hyun, Rinthar began, his translator rendering his quick, nervous speech into measured Korean. The Prey Coalition has serious concerns about human activities. In the past year, your species has demonstrated an alarming ability to influence predator species behavior. You have made Vrex cubs submit. You have trained Vrex warriors to follow human leadership. Reports suggest you have attempted similar interactions with 3 other predator species. What is humanity's endgame? Hyun had expected this question. She had prepared for it, but hearing it spoken aloud in the council chamber with hundreds of eyes watching her made the weight of it real. We have no endgame, she said simply. We are doing what humans have always done, trying to understand other species, trying to build relationships based on mutual respect and benefit. Relationships, Rinthar repeated, his tone sharp. You call it relationships. We call it manipulation. You are altering natural hierarchies that have existed for millions of years. Predator species fear and respect each other, leaving space for prey species to exist. If predators start seeing humans as packmates, as allies, what happens to the rest of us? A Vrex council member, one of Talmor's own advisors, spoke up. The Prey Coalition raises valid concerns. Even we do not fully understand what humans are doing to us. My own nephew has begun to defer to a human combat instructor. This should not be possible. Yoonji, sitting behind Hyun in the human delegation section, requested permission to speak. The council granted it, curious to hear from the ethicist who had been studying human-alien interactions. I have spent the last year examining human domestication and bonding behaviors, Yoonji began. I need to make something very clear. Humans are not manipulating anyone. Manipulation implies deception, using hidden techniques to force desired behaviors. What humans do is the opposite. We are completely transparent in our intentions and methods. She activated a holographic display showing footage of Hana with Vrex cubs. When Dr. Hana growled at Krev, she was not using a secret trick. She was responding naturally to a play invitation. The cubs react positively not because they are being controlled, but because human behavior happens to align with predator social patterns. We speak a language they understand instinctively. That makes it more dangerous, not less, Rinthar argued. If humans can naturally integrate into predator hierarchies, they could unite predator species that would normally compete. They could form alliances that would dominate the galaxy. To what purpose? Hyun asked directly. What would humanity gain from this supposed domination? We are one planet with limited resources. We joined the galactic community seeking knowledge and trade, not conquest. Perhaps not yet. But power corrupts. If humanity realizes it can command the loyalty of the galaxy's most dangerous species, we do not command loyalty, Hyun interrupted firmly. We offer partnership. There is a difference. Kessa, the avian representative who had remained neutral during most of the debate, requested the floor. The council chamber quieted. Kessa's species were known for their objective observations, their ability to see patterns others missed. I would like to share something with the council, Kessa said. Her voice was melodic, each word carefully chosen. 3 months ago, human scientists visited my homeworld to study our nest guardians. These are territorial creatures that attack any species that approaches nesting sites. They have injured or killed representatives from 20 different species over the years. We keep them because they guard our cities from aerial predators, but we cannot approach them safely ourselves. She activated her own holographic display. Footage appeared of a human woman, someone named Bora, approaching a nest guardian. The creature screeched a warning, its wings spread wide in threat display. Bora stopped immediately. She did not retreat, but she did not advance. She simply waited. The guardian screeched again. Bora made a sound back, not quite a screech, but something acknowledging. She took one small step back, giving more space. The guardian's posture relaxed slightly. This continued for hours in the footage, sped up for viewing. Small movements, careful sounds. Bora never pushed, never forced. She let the guardian set the pace. By the end of the day, The guardian allowed her within 10 feet of the nest. By the end of the week, it allowed her to observe the eggs. No other species has ever achieved this, Kessa said quietly. We asked Bora how she did it. She said she was just being respectful. She was listening to what the guardian was telling her and responding appropriately. She did not use food as bribery. She did not use fear as control. She simply showed the guardian that she understood its needs and would respect its boundaries. The council chamber was silent. Kessa continued, I have observed humans carefully. They are unique in the galaxy, but not because they are manipulative. They are unique because they see connection as possible with any species. Predator, prey, it does not matter to them. They approach each encounter with the assumption that mutual understanding can be achieved, and somehow this assumption becomes reality. That is a lovely story, Rinthar said, though his tone suggested he did not find it lovely at all. But it does not address the fundamental concern. If predators unite under human leadership, they will not, Talmor said, standing in his section. The Vrex ambassador's voice carried weight in the council. I have watched humans carefully. I have seen them interact with my people, including my own family. They do not seek to lead us. They seek to understand us. And in that understanding, we find something we did not know we were missing. Which is recognition, Talmor said simply. Humans see us as individuals, not as categories. When my son Krev met Dr. Hana, she did not see a Vrex cub or a dangerous predator. She saw a playful youngster and responded to that individual. This is what makes humans different. They do not interact with species. They interact with people. Yunji nodded. This is the core of human social behavior. We evolved in complex social groups where every individual mattered. We learned to read subtle emotional cues, to remember personal preferences, to adjust our behavior based on individual relationships. When we meet aliens, we instinctively apply the same approach. We remember names. We notice mood changes. We celebrate personal achievements. For many species, especially predators raised in rigid hierarchies, this individualized attention is revolutionary and dangerous, Rinthar insisted. You describe a species that can form deep personal bonds with anyone. That makes them impossible to resist. How can prey species protect themselves from predators who have been bonded to human handlers? Hyun took a deep breath. This was the heart of the matter, the real fear beneath all the political posturing. You are asking if humans will weaponize predator species against prey species. Yes, we will not. I cannot prove this to you with words. I can only point to our history. On Earth, humans had the power to eliminate many species. We were the dominant predator, capable of hunting anything. Some species we did eliminate, yes, through ignorance or greed, but many more we chose to protect. We created preserves. We passed laws against hunting endangered species. We spent resources protecting animals that could never benefit us economically. Why? Someone from the council asked. Because they had value beyond utility. Because we recognized them as fellow inhabitants of our world. Because we believed diversity made our world richer. Hyun looked directly at Rinthar. That is the truth about humanity. We are not perfect. We have made terrible mistakes. But our core instinct is not domination. It is connection. It is inclusion. It is the belief that the pack is stronger when it includes more voices, more perspectives, more types of beings. Rinthar was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was softer, more vulnerable. My species has spent millions of years learning to survive in a galaxy where we are prey. We have perfected the art of being useful without being threatening, of serving without resisting. Now comes a species that breaks all our understanding of how predators work. You make us hope that maybe things could be different. And hope is dangerous. Hope gets prey species killed. Hyun felt something in her chest tighten. This was not political posturing. This was real fear, real trauma carried across evolutionary time. I understand, she said gently, and I cannot promise you that humans will never disappoint you. We are flawed. We make mistakes. But I can promise you this, we do not see you as prey. We see you as potential friends. 3 years had passed since Hana first met Krev on that diplomatic vessel. The Seoul Xenobiology Institute had grown from a small research facility into the Galactic Center for Cross-Species Integration Studies. Today, as Hana walked through the main building, she passed beings from 17 different worlds, all here to learn about pack dynamics, social bonding, and cooperative strategies. Krev walked beside her, no longer a small cub but a young adult Virex, tall and powerful. He had chosen to stay with the program as a teaching assistant, helping other predator species understand human behavior from a predator's perspective. Sometimes Hana forgot how strange this would have seemed just a few years ago. Of Rex and human walking together like old friends. The new group arrives today, Krev said, his translator rendering his rumbling speech with perfect clarity. Minho said there is a Krath among them. That species has never sent anyone to the program before. I know, Hana said, and she could not keep the concern from her voice. The Krath were known for being aggressively territorial, even by predator standards. They did not form packs. They barely tolerated others of their own kind. The fact that they had sent someone suggested either genuine interest or a test to prove humans were frauds. Jiho met them at the arrival bay, his security protocols tighter than usual. The Krath representative just landed. His name is Vorin. He has made it clear he does not expect to learn anything useful. He is here to prove that Krath are superior to pack bonding instincts. Of course he is, Hana sighed. Where is Youngji? Already in the training area, setting up the standard integration exercises. The group gathered in the main hall. Along with Vareen the Krath, there were 2 young Vrex warriors that Mira had recommended. A cautious feline-type predator from a newly contacted world, and an insectoid species that fell somewhere between predator and prey in behavior. All of them watched Hana with varying degrees of skepticism or curiosity. Vareen was massive, even larger than a Vrex, with thick armored hide and claws that looked like they could tear through steel. His eyes were small and hard, assessing everything as a potential threat or target. When he looked at Hana, his expression clearly conveyed that he saw neither. So you are the human that makes predators roll over, Vorin said, his voice like grinding stones. I am told you have some kind of magic that makes us forget what we are. No magic, Hana replied calmly. Just respect and understanding. And nobody forgets what they are. You are Krath. Powerful, territorial, excellent hunters. I am not trying to change that. Then what are you trying to do? Help you understand that strength does not have to mean isolation. That cooperation can enhance individual power rather than diminish it. Vorin snorted, a sound like a small explosion. Krath do not cooperate. We compete. The strongest survive. The weak are eliminated. This is proper order. That is one way, Hana agreed, and it has served your species well. But it is not the only way. May I show you something? She led the group to the training area where Youngji waited. The combat instructor stood calmly in the center of the space, unarmed, relaxed. Vorin, she said respectfully, I am told you are an exceptional warrior. Would you be willing to demonstrate your combat technique? Vorin's eyes gleamed. Against you? If you wish, though I would prefer a demonstration against one of our training targets first. Let everyone see what makes Krath combat so effective. Flattery was not exactly accurate, but acknowledging strength was something all predators understood. Vorin agreed, and what followed was indeed impressive. He attacked the training target with brutal efficiency, using his natural weapons and armor to devastating effect. The target, designed to withstand significant force, was destroyed in seconds. Excellent technique, Youngji said genuinely. Raw power combined with precision. Very effective for solo combat. Now may I show you something different? She gestured, and Doyen entered the space along with 2 other humans. They faced a similar target, but this one was larger, more complex, designed to fight back. The 3 humans did not attack immediately. They positioned themselves around the target, communicating quietly. When they moved together. One human drew the target's attention. Another struck from the side while it was distracted. The third moved to prevent the target's escape route. They were not as individually powerful as Vorin, but together they were incredibly effective. The complex target was disabled in roughly the same time it took Vorin to destroy the simpler one. Pack tactics, Doyen explained. Each human has a role. Each role supports the others. Together we are more than the sum of our parts. This requires trust, Vorin said, and his tone suggested trust was a weakness. Yes, Youngji agreed. It does. Trust that your packmates will do their part. Trust that they will not betray you. Trust that cooperation benefits everyone. And if that trust is misplaced, if someone proves unworthy, then you reassess, adjust, sometimes remove them from the pack if necessary. But you do not start from the assumption that everyone will betray you. That makes cooperation impossible. Vorin was quiet, processing this. Then he said something unexpected. In Krath history, there was a time when we cooperated. Before we became what we are now, old stories tell of Krath who hunted together, who raised young communally. But that time ended in betrayal. The strongest Krath turned on their packmates and took everything for themselves. Since then, we trust no one. Hana felt something shift in the room. This was not arrogance. This was pain. Cultural trauma passed down through generations. What if, she said carefully, you could have the benefits of cooperation without repeating that betrayal? What if you could learn pack structures that have safeguards against the strongest simply taking everything? How? The strong always dominate. That is nature. On Earth we have a saying, the nail that sticks out gets hammered down. But we also have another saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Both are true. Individuals can excel, but the community supports them. And if individuals try to harm the community responds together. No single strong person can dominate a coordinated pack. Krev stepped forward. I was raised to believe Vrex were the strongest predators. Then I met Hana. She did not defeat me in combat. She did not need to. She made me feel safe, part of something larger. That is a different kind of strength. And it does not diminish my own strength. It enhances it. The rest of the day involved various exercises designed to demonstrate cooperative benefits. Vorin participated, though his movements remained stiff, unwilling to fully commit. But Hana noticed small changes. When working with others, he began to coordinate his attacks instead of just attacking. When someone made a mistake, he corrected them with instruction rather than contempt. The real test came near the end of the day. An emergency alert sounded, not a drill. A ship had suffered critical failure in nearby space. The vessel carried both predator and prey species from different worlds. The crew was trapped together in confined spaces, and without intervention, the situation could turn violent as predators' hunting instincts activated in stress. We need to respond, Jiho said immediately, already coordinating with security. But this needs to be handled delicately. If we send only humans, the predators might not listen. If we send only predators, the prey will panic. Mixed team, Hana said decisively. Humans for coordination, predators for credibility with the predator crew, and we need someone who can reassure prey species. Krev, Mira, Youngji, Doyun, and me. I will come as well, Vorin said suddenly. Everyone looked at him in surprise. If this is a test of cooperation, I will see if it is real or just words. The journey to the stranded vessel was tense. Hana used the time to review what they knew. 15 crew members total, mix of species, life support failing slowly, communications damaged. The crew would be stressed, frightened, potentially irrational. When they boarded, the situation was worse than expected. The predator crew members had instinctively herded together in one section. The prey species had barricaded themselves in another. Both groups were terrified, and fear was making them act on instinct rather than reason. Hana entered the predator section first, flanked by Krev and Vorin. 3 predator species she had never met before snarled at the intrusion, their bodies tense with barely controlled aggression. The confined space smelled of fear and territorial marking. I am Hana from Earth, she said calmly, her voice steady despite her racing heart. We are here to help. But first I need you to understand something. Every being on this ship survives together or dies together. That is the situation. Cooperation is not optional anymore. It is survival. One of the predators, a reptilian species with impressive teeth, hissed a challenge. Why should we listen to prey? Because I am not prey, Hana said quietly. She locked eyes with the reptilian, not backing down, not showing fear. I am pack. And right now you need pack to survive, she growled. That same deep rumbling sound she had made to Krev years ago, not aggressive but authoritative. The sound of someone who knew her place and expected others to recognize it. The reptilian predator's posture shifted slightly. Uncertain now. Krev stepped forward. She speaks truth. Humans are not prey. They are pack builders. I have lived among them for 3 years. They do not submit. They include. There is a difference.